Well, I have had a blast with this. First of all, I wanted to say that every one of us here is already a master of time because in the past 24 hours, we have reset at least one, if not several clocks, and gained an hour simply by pushing a few buttons or moving a few of the hands on a clock. And so already we have mastery. However, we get that opportunity twice a year, and then there's the rest of life to deal with. So I was also thinking about a dear friend who used to say, he had this affirmation he would say, and it was, time bends to meet my needs. And his wife taught him how to say that. She's my former co-minister and very dear friend from North Carolina. And so she would hear him in the morning getting ready for work. He was busy, taking care of his hair and his teeth and everything, putting on his uniform. And she would hear him saying, time bends to meet my needs. And then he would follow it with, and if it doesn't, I'm going to be late. And it was such a good story, of course she had to tell it, and we never let him forget about it. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that this beautiful man finally mastered time in the ultimate way and went back to the timelessness just about a week and a half ago. So I'm remembering a very dear friend, a bright spirit, a beautiful man who made me laugh, who was a student with me all the way along, and he loaned me his wife to co-found Science of Mind Center back in 2002. So he was on board for that adventure. So we give thanks for the presence of Rod Contois, who's gone to the timeless and mastered time at last. For the rest of us who are still here right now, this idea of mastering time, I thought of a better title, by the way, on my way here this morning. This is the title, and the subtitle that I put in our newsletter and our Facebook posts and on Meetup says, How to Master Time and Live Your Best Life. And of course, as I was leaving my home this morning, I thought it should be How to Master Time and Have the Time of Your Life. So that's what we're calling it right now. I laugh because every once in a while I commit to something which causes me to grow. And I committed quite a while ago to telling all of you how to master time. So two things happened. Like, oh my goodness, that's a tall order. I better get busy and find out how this works because I promised that I would have something to share about it. That's the part of the commitment that always causes me to grow. And I keep my word, even when part of me wants to run out the door, change plans, do something different. The other part is that, I don't know about you, but whenever I commit to something, for example, in this case, to teaching or talking about something, I have the opportunity to experience it in new ways that teach me a little bit about that thing. So definitely throughout the week, I had that opportunity. I began my writing. Typically, I'm in this exercise class on Monday mornings at 9 o'clock, and I'm jumping up and down. I have nothing to write on, and all these ideas come. I can just remember that. And then, I don't know about you, but it's another place where my ideas come is in the shower. Can't write there either. I actually wrote one idea in the steam on the mirror because I wanted to remember it so badly. So we have all of these revelations, got to keep track of them all. Then I go to meet my sister, who was having a fundraiser on Wednesday evening. And on Tuesday, her dishwasher died. She was having 44 people over for dinner on Wednesday evening. So I met her that morning after her dishwasher died, and she was a little frazzled, right? So I'm sitting in the car, and she says, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. Just a moment, be right there. And I thought, okay, somewhere in this vehicle there's a scrap of paper. Not to worry. I had already written one version of my talk about time. And so then I found some paper, sheets of paper about something entirely different, but they had blank back sides. And I turned them over and I began to write. And I wrote my second version of my wonderful talk about time that kept me in a beautiful place about time. And then I was able to be present with my sister, who eventually did show up, to go to a store which no longer existed. And I walked into Publix with her, and still present. Mission accomplished. we had paper plates, and the event was great. It was fantastic. So I thought, how beautiful that while I'm sitting here experiencing waiting for my sister, I'm writing about time. What a perfect opportunity to practice mastery of time. So I did that. So the final version is something that got created yesterday, and then continued to evolve within me today. And we had that fun thing of knowing that we were going to be able to turn our clocks back and get another hour. How convenient, since we were having a big party on Saturday, right? And I had a belief about what I normally do on Saturday in order to have the experience and come through on that agreement on Sunday. So here's what I discovered about the mastery of time. Time is like anything else in the physical world. To the degree that we understand it, this is Ernest Holmes talking about everything. To the degree that we really know about it, how it works, and how it operates, to the point where it becomes second nature, to the point where it becomes a part of us, to the point where we embody that knowledge and we become it. To that degree, we have mastery over time. It's the same as anything else. So the first way that we approach this idea of mastery over time is to say, okay, like anything else that we explore in the physical world, what is it? How does it work? The more I understand it, the more it can work for me, and the less it seems to be working against me. The more I understand it, the more I have power with it and in it and about it, and the less it seems to have power over me. So the first premise then is to understand time better. And that greater understanding will shift our experience of it. The second one, which we'll get to in a moment, has to do with that song that we just sang called In the Silence. And that is called transcendence. So, to master time, number one, we need to understand it and put it through our metaphysical formula, going from seemingly being powerless over time to being powerful in our understanding of and our relationship with it. And secondly, we realize ultimately to master time, we transcend it. And transcendence comes from another process. So first of all, we'll do the simple one. The first simple one is that time has certain characteristics and qualities. And when we understand them, we can have a better relationship with time. So here's a few. A few of them are this. For example, time measures experience in the physical world. Time measures beginnings and endings. Time measures where an experience is and isn't. Time creates boundaries. Time is limited. So, time, which is a mechanism of measurement within the physical world, is limiting. Now, here's the best part. We can work with that to have a different experience of it. And here's how. This is where the transcendence comes in. Time is still within the infinite. So this finite thing called time is still within the infinite, which obviously has no limits. And the key to our experience of time is the fact that, like everything else that we talk about every Sunday and in every class all the time, is that what we think about it determines how we experience it. Get this. Consciousness, thought are limitless. Consciousness and thought are part of the infinite. Now, time is part of the finite. How do we shift our experience of time? We take our consciousness of the infinite, we take our thought of the infinite, and we point it at our perception of time. And then the law of cause and effect will do what it does. and give us a different relationship with time, a different experience of time. Time will reach back toward us differently as we reach toward time differently. Not just that, though. The other part about transcendence is this, that when we take time to bask in the infinite, and when we bask in the silence, when we align our thinking, our thoughts, our consciousness with the capital T truth of all that is and who we are, the capital B beingness of who we are, when we commune with that in our thinking, in our consciousness, something happens. It's called expansion. Because the truth of who we are is not limited, it's not finite, it's not contained, it has no beginning or end, it has no outside and inside. It's one thing. It's one thing. So if we literally spend time basking in the infinite and recognizing our own infinite nature, what we do then is that we go back into our finite experience of things I got to do today, right? Or things I want to experience while I'm still around. And we bring this perception. How do I know that I have succeeded in basking in that? I'm feeling it right now. Because I have spent all week studying infinity and I feel like Buzz Lightyear right now, right? I feel it. I know it. And so even though I can't see it all right now, I know that the universe is responding to that expansiveness, which is magnetic. And where I see that something or someone has disappeared, someone or something even more magnificent is coming to take that place. You see, this really isn't just about time. But time is a really great example. Why? Because what do we normally think about it? We normally think there's not enough. There's not enough. And we walk around saying, I have no choice. We walk around saying, I have no choice. There's too much to do. And you know, Carolyn Mace tells us that we exchange our wounds, you know, to sort of validate our stuckness. You know, when people decide to get well, boy, do they upset the apple cart in their family unit or in their circle of friends or in the workplace when they dare to have a different experience about anything that goes against the rules, a customary pattern. Boy, do they get some kickback. So what if it doesn't matter? What if we just say, oh, well, they just don't get me? There's an archetypal character called the Fool. And the Fool is the one who steps off into the abyss with a big smile, wearing bright colors, maybe carrying a bouquet of flowers, not a care in the world. And everybody else thinks the Fool is what? Foolish. The Fool is the wisest of them all. So when we think about how we have things to do today, and we have things we still want to experience in life, and we say, what I want to do is have mastery over time so that I can have the time of my life. We're going to do a few things. We're going to say, okay, now I know that time is just a construct that measures experience in space, and that's good to know because it allows us to know where we are. It allows us to know all kinds of important things, you know, how fast we're moving, or if we're not moving at all. These are good things to know. But it doesn't have any power over us. Finite is not the full scope of our true nature. So when we step over here, through whatever practice, we might use dance or movement, meditation, we might crank the tunes and prance around the house, I do that. Or whatever it is. You know, ride your bike, go to a class and jump up and down, whatever it is. Bask in the infinite. And yes, it does involve some type of letting go of intellectual thought. So it's mindful dancing, it's mindful sleeping, it's mindful sitting, it's mindful, but it's not about figuring everything out. This is the letting go of the finite and basking in the infinite and remembering that we are that and rediscovering how to think and feel and be. It begins with an experience and it translates up into the head, but how to be the infinitude that we are. And then we take it back into our daily experience and we watch how time bends to meet our needs. This is where it gets really fun. I used to do this at one of the jobs that I had, where a short day was 12 hours long and a long day was usually about 14 to 16, and we had a lot to do. And it all had to be great. It all had to be great. And it had to be like clockwork. And I would do this thing where I would do my meditation and my mindfulness and my prayer, and then I would set my intentions. I would pre-script and map the experiences that my to-do list, my relationships with my coworkers, my employers, our guests, the whole thing. I saw it magically. And I found time to meditate, pray, journal, take naps in the middle of the day, go running, and do all of this work. And what I found is that I would be doing it, and then I'd turn around and go, how did that happen? I'd look around me, and everything was done. And it was as if the hands on my watch had not moved. And it happened more than once. So what this really means is that you can master time. You can master time and have the time of your life by, number one, understanding how time works. Number two, applying the same principles that we talk about every day to the degree that you understand it, till your knowing and who you are becomes something else, becomes your truth and your way. Your experience of time will shift. And ultimately, you can transcend it so that it bends to meet your needs by basking in the infinite and remembering that's who you truly are. And then take that infinitude back into your daily life and watch what happens. You'll amaze yourself, and you will amaze your friends, and you'll be the happiest fool you ever met. Thank you.
Thank you.